Okay, everyone, it's time for Ian's asana lab on a beautiful pose called Chaturanga. There is a lot to be said about this pose, but I really want to break it down into what you really need to know to get started. First of all, it belongs to our family of poses called core line integration. Now, I know when you think of core, you think about lying on your back and going like, oh, I'm doing a bunch of sit-ups. Oh, he's got such a good core. But that is actually flexing forward at the middle and just really doing your abdominal and hip flexor strength. When I'm thinking of the core in our Blissology yoga family, I want you to imagine that you're squeezing like a pull through the center. So from the inner legs up through the center of the body and out through the spine. So it's kind of more like being able to stay integrated in this shape. Now, watch, if I do Chaturanga like this and bring my elbows here, I'm doing a vertical standing version of Chaturanga. So if you were to flip me around, that's exactly the same pose. Now, in this Chaturanga version, I need to keep my front body engaged, meaning my quadriceps, my abdominals, and my chest muscles. I need to keep those engaged so that I can support myself. If I can't support myself, then what happens when I'm doing this Chaturanga is that my back body starts to sag through the front like this. I don't have the ability to resist the load in the front to hold these muscles on. And then so in the back, it's going to look like this kind of shoulder blades pinching and everything's hollowing out here. Now, it's not that I'm trying to make aesthetically perfect shapes. It's the real big issue with that, and I'm going to show you in real Chaturanga, is that the real big issue with that is if I can't hold the load, if I don't have the proper resistance to hold my load, what I don't like about this is what's at risk here is my wrists. All my body weight's going down into my wrists, and all the body weight's going into my shoulders specifically. What's happening is because my chest muscles can't hold me up and I can't disperse the load over the whole front body using my quadricep and my abdominals, what starts to hold me up is the tendons and the ligaments of my shoulders. So, I could do a whole 3-day seminar on this, but the short story is if I can't keep my front body engaged, I'm really at risk here in my shoulders and my wrists. If I can keep my back full and keep my inner core connected and stay organized around the core, then we're talking, I can keep my shoulders and wrists safe, but I can also get the benefit of the pose, which is about the ability to organize yourself around the midline, which will have an amazing effect, by the way, on another core line pose called standing up. If you can organize yourself around this midline continuously in life, then you will have joints that last longer in your back. So this core line ability is the ability to, not in a rigid way, but to organize the bones of the body around the midline so that your breath, your diaphragm, can really provide that length. The feet and the diaphragm do a lot to protect the spine. Okay, so that's kind of why we do Chaturanga. As well, when you put weight on your body, and you not just build bigger muscles here, but you're actually going to create better bone density over time too, which is super important because so many people suffer from osteoporosis over time, and you really want your bone density to be maintained. Okay, so a couple points I want you to get. Most alignment you'll see out there in most yoga schools are based on the camera. They're based on aesthetics. I don't want you to play the game of aesthetics. I want you to play the game of function. Okay? So I'm guilty of this. When I was taught Chaturanga and I looked at all the gurus doing Chaturanga, I was taught that I needed to have my forearm perpendicular to the floor. That was the goal, and my bicep parallel to the floor, and my torso more or less parallel to the floor, and anything else was cheating, or at least wimping out. Now, I'm gonna scratch. Can you just scratch that off and throw it out? Like, scratch that off and throw it out. That is misinformation. It's going to make the picture look good, but it's not going to help your joints. So I'm going to tell you, first of all, off the top, how my Chaturanga looks, and I want you to see that my forearms are not perpendicular to the floor. Now, even though it probably looks way better if I do that, I'm not lying, that probably looks better than this, but it's at least twice as hard. And I'm a pretty strong guy, and a lot of people hurt their shoulders because they're aiming for this aesthetically perfect 90-degree angle at the forearms, and teachers are even cueing that. And here it is. For every inch my chest goes forward out this way, it increases the load. And if I don't have the ability to resist the load with my muscles, then my joints and my ligaments are going to pay for it. So, key point is, 1, let go of this idea, what we call deprioritize the idea that your forearms have to be perpendicular to the floor and your biceps have to be parallel. Secondly, for many, many years, and there's nothing exactly wrong with this, the modification for people I used to give was to put the knees onto the floor and do this version of Chaturanga, or to come down to the floor in sun salutations and do upward dog. Now, the problem with that is that you're not going to get stronger. See, there's a concept called hypertrophy, which means that you've got to make your muscles go feel a load, tire them out, break them down, and then they will build back stronger. But if I just go from plank and lower down onto the floor, and then come into a cobra, and then come into upward dog, I'm just not making myself stronger. So the modification for Chaturanga, if you can't come down this low, is, and it took me a long time to figure this out, and no one even taught me this, but I think it's very intelligent, is to only lower down to a point where I can resist the load. So watch, I'm just going to lower down, and maybe I just bend my elbows an inch or two. And that's my Chaturanga, and then I can flip my feet and come into upward dog. But who says that I have to be down this low? I want you to find the place where as soon as you start sagging, you stop. But you can start to bend the elbows a little bit so you get stronger. Okay, so let go of the aesthetics and start practicing the game of function. So I'm going to show you one more time that this, in my books, is a perfectly legitimate Chaturanga. Okay, it's way better than this idea of, well, I've got to get out here, and I see people in all these crazy positions, and it doesn't feel good from the inside out. And again, I think I made my point. It puts the wrists and especially the shoulder joints in a big stress. All right, so other tips real quick for you are, you need to get your core line, imagine you're squeezing like a block between the legs as you press out through the feet. Now that is to, if I can bring Insia out, that'd be amazing. So Insia is going to do Chaturanga. I won't keep her in the pose long, but I just want you, actually, you know what? Do standing pose for a second first. Come up to standing and turn and face this way. And what I want Insia to feel is that I'm going to press into the crown of her head And she wants to press up into my hand. I'm going to try and squish her. And the core line helps you to get this elongated feeling. And what you're really looking for, again, is not rigidity, but just to have like spaciousness in the breath. And it's like the joints are supported by like these little internal balloons, and you're expanding them with your breath. So as I press into the crown, she's pressing her feet, and from the crown she's pressing back into the feet. I'm gonna bring the hands like this, spread the fingertips, and that is Chaturanga. So now let's do the version of that where she's parallel to the floor. So come into your Chaturanga. Again, this is a little bit of hard exercise, so I won't keep her there long. But I just want you to see the importance of this, what we call the MTP joint right here. So I'm gonna press one hand here, and she's gonna press out through the crown. Now press your heels into me and press your head forward. Yeah. So it's like she's suspended between two rocks. And then, yeah, one up. Yeah. Okay. So again, that was amazing. So what I want you to feel, again, is like your head's on a rock, your feet are on the rock, and you're pressing out.
Felt it.
You felt it, right? You feel lighter?
Yeah, and just more expansive.
Yeah. Because what happens to most people, this is the last point again, there's a lot more to say about Chaturanga. I'm just trying to give you need to know. Last real big point is, don't just do, I'll just summarize it like this. Don't just do the up and down game. Most people are just doing the up and down game. Do the, actually, I want to show you one more thing in a second. Do the top to bottom game, but also what I shown with Insia is do the heel to head and head to heel. So the length game. But now I want you to do one more thing. Insia, can you do me a favor and press your hands on my shoulder blades from the back?
Like this?
Yep. And stand on that side. Yeah. There you go. Okay, so she's gonna press her hands on her edge and a little bit lower. Back ribs. Yeah. So watch. I need to press back up into Insia. Now, here's me letting it go. And so if I am not pressing up into Insia and I sink down, I got a problem in my shoulders, or I will have a problem probably one day. So I'm gonna keep pressing out through the heels. Here, yeah, she's giving me lots of force, and I lower down. And if I just lower down that much, that's fine. But as soon as I start sagging, I'm starting to like kind of sag off of my shoulder joint. So I press back into her, and I keep that on. And as soon as I lose it, I stop. And day by day, keep pressing. Yeah, there it is, there it is. And I press back into her. Okay. And that's where the core comes, because I'm using a little bit my abdominals here to press back that way. But that's a real big important pose. Did you see it? So make sure that it's like there's a ceiling on your back, a line on your back, and you're pressing up into it. And as soon as you start to sag away from the ceiling, have a red light on in your mind, and then lower down, and keep it there. Okay, we'll talk about how to transition from Chaturanga to upward dog and sun salutations in the next video. But yeah, this is a beautiful pose, Chaturanga, and we'll put it all together at the end of the day in one beautiful sun salutation below. Cheers.